The Gender and CSOs Advisor on Strengthening Investment in Gender-Responsive Climate Adaptation, Elham Mumuni, has disclosed that less than 1% of last year's budget was allocated to climate-related activities. She said government is not intentional when it comes to climate-related issues. Ms. Mumuni will reveal this at the sidelines of workshops organized by CSOs and MMDAs in Tamale. Said there was the need for more funding to be channeled to that area.
The SiGRA project, funded by Global Affairs Canada, is working with local governments in Ghana's northern and Volta regions to develop and implement climate projects that benefit communities with a focus on women and vulnerable groups. These projects are made possible through annual grants that aim to strengthen climate adaptation planning, budgeting, and governance in key institutions. Speaking in an interview with the media, Gender and CSO Advisor at SiGRA, Elham Mumuni said not only is there a funding gap, but also a significant gap when it comes to the voice of women and vulnerable groups.
This climate discourse, the voices of women and girls are not there. So discussions are made for them without their presence and then also without their lived experience being captured. Knowing that climate change is deeply gendered and then also is intersectional, and then it needs all voices for us to kind of adapt an inclusive approach to ensure that marginalized groups, vulnerable groups' voices are captured in climate discourse. But our main challenge, it has to do with mainstreaming gender-responsive climate adaptation initiatives and national and subnational plans and budget. Hence, the support that SiGRA is giving to our key partners here in Tamale.
The Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at WiLDAF, Bilal Malam Sani, noted that the project is exploring ways to help metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to develop gender-responsive budget to address climate change and promote gender equality.
The SiGRA project is looking at how do we get MMDAs when drafting their budgets. Those budgets are gender responsive and also conformed with some climate responsiveness. We believe that when there's a budget that is going to be developed, women in the local or women in our communities are most affected by some of these budgets. But how do we ensure that when these MMDAs are developing these budgets, those budgets are gender responsive? They take the issues of women in the gender. For instance, if they are constructing a public institution or a public infrastructure, how do you ensure that that infrastructure responds to the needs of women and girls?
SiGRA's desk officer at the Northern Regional Coordinating Council, Rahinatu Fuseni, highlighted that the SiGRA project has built the capacity of implementing districts to understand the concept of gender and its relation to climate change.
It has built the capacity of the 3 districts, the staff, to be able to understand what gender is and the relationship between gender and climate change, and how they can integrate the elements of gender and climate change in the medium-term development plans they are currently preparing. So it is very important.
Kasiru Sani, head of programs, policy and campaign at Songtaba, emphasized that the project has also examined community perceptions on climate change and their adaptive capacity.
To engage with various stakeholders, look at some of their understanding, what are the perceptions around climate change, what are the current adaptive capacity of the communities in addressing some of these changes, and then recommended specific community level solutions. So the idea is not to be looking at bigger initiatives or bigger projects, but what are some of the nitty-gritty, the small community level activity. For example, if one of the findings that we realized is there's serious water scarcity across some of these communities, and how can communities be able to address some of these systems.
You're still watching from our correspondent. We'll take a break now. We'll be back with more.
My name is Muhammad. My name is
Hear the call of history, the moments we crown the best, when excellence in Ghanaian journalism takes center stage. Get ready for the 29th GJA Media Awards under the leadership of Albert Kwabena Jomfo, President of the Ghana Journalists Association. For the first time ever, the prestigious